Hello everyone, my name is Nick Schrag. Today we're going to be talking about the differences of costume designs in two versions of Phantom of the Opera, a musical by Andrew Lloyd Webber. The costume designer for the original Broadway show was Maria Bjornson. She actually designed both the costumes and the set for the musical, but today we'll be focusing on some questions about her costume designs, like how were they adapted to the 2004 film? Why were they reimagined for the 25th anniversary performance of the Broadway version? And finally, what factors and considerations were brought into these key differences? Bjornson's designs were inspired by her own cultural roots of Norwegian and Romanian heritage, paired with the setting of the musical in 1880s France. Something to note is that hardly anything has changed from her original designs to the Broadway version that is being performed today. Reference photographs and renderings are referred to every time a piece needs to be altered or remade to fit a new actor. Some fabrics are even contractually ordered through the same manufacturer in order to preserve the show's authenticity. All source texts involving the origin of costume design for the current running of the show point back to the first designer because the wardrobe was barely altered. That is, until the 2004 film. Costume designer Alexandra Byrne is recognized for her allusion to Bjornson's looks while innovating some new vintage designs to fill the big screen. We'll be comparing those to the anniversary production celebrating 25 years running, surpassing the milestone of the longest consecutively performed musical, previously held by Cats, another Andrew Lloyd Webber show. Originally planned as just a concert, the show was produced in full-scale production, live-streamed internationally, and professionally recorded to become an updated film release in 2012. Costumes for the 25th anniversary version were collected from previous Broadway runs and worldwide productions of the shows, all of which were on their own inspired by Bjornson's originals. So, if both sets of costumes were based on the same original designs, why did they turn out so differently? Well, let's first examine the opening Hannibal scene of the 25th anniversary version, followed by the same scene in the film. The scene is a rehearsal of the opera Hannibal, in which the emperor's slave girls perform a ballet routine. The 25th anniversary version costumes are borrowed directly from the original Broadway production. Note the sturdiness of the green and red striped corset, as well as the freedom of movement in the rope skirts of the dancers. As we can see, there are several key differences between the two. The film version has changed the cut of the costume, most notably in the midsection. There are several aesthetic and functional explanations for this. The two contrasting versions both benefit the media type they were created for. For the film version on the right, it may seem as though less fabric better serves the dance function of the scene, but the rope skirt of the stage opera lends itself to both the physical motions and the visual effect of movement necessary for the ballet. Also, the stage version is built sturdier in order to endure heavy use since it is worn over and over for hundreds of performances. The film's design gets closer to the original idea of the slave girl character, though, and the stage version has to function for the onstage costume transformation of Christine becoming the lead soprano. The next comparison is Christine's dress for her funerary scene the night she visits her father's grave, where she sings "Wishing You Were Somehow Here Again." Most of the differences in this particular costume have to do with how the dress functions as part of the design for the scenery around it. In the film version on the right, Christine's dress has been changed to black to observe traditional Western European mourning attire. It's more appropriate to the nature of the scene than the version on the left, which was created in part to stand out against the dark scenery, so it had to be colored blue instead of black to convey themes of solitude. The next costume we'll be examining belongs to the Phantom, and the distinction again lies in aesthetics. The stage version on the left is noticeably more theatrical and supernatural. For the film, Byrne strove to show a romantic bachelor that had realistic charm for the time period. Both character designs have to rise to the challenge of wearing all black and fighting for the center of attention. So the theatrical version embellishes both the silhouette and the finishings on the costume to make it sparkle and stand out, while the film's version is more subtle, appealing to the romantic ideals of the 21st century merged with everyday wear for men of the Victorian period. The next scene is perhaps the best example of the sheer extravagance of this show's costumes. First, we have the film version of The Masquerade, where Byrne has created a beautifully coordinated color palette that is subtle but lets the intricacy of each piece shine. It also makes way for Christine to stand out in her pale pink dress, which is a very full, floor-length ball gown. The stage version of The Masquerade used the original vibrant color palette, but expanded on some of the ideas, like Carlotta's Queen of Spiders dress. Most of the film costumes could work functionally on stage, but reducing the size and length of the ball gowns frees up movement for a bigger dance number and is safer for larger ensembles to be gathered on the stage at once. The gaudiness of the stage costumes help them stand out from the scenery, and all of the gems and reflective elements are meant to catch the light and combine with choreography to create large-scale visual effects. Even though the costume design creates different moods, both scenes are truly stunning and showcases some of the best of what costume design has to offer. Here's another Phantom costume from Bjornsson's original Masquerade design, up against a few other ensemble pieces. They all make a showy statement, but she prioritized clarity of the design for the leads so they can always easily be picked out on stage, something that is easier to control in film for sure. Preference between film or stage costumes is very subjective, as they function appropriately for their own mediums. Film costumes can get away with simpler and more subtle design choices or garments that restrict full body movement, and for the stage, theater pieces tend to be sturdier to survive the many wearings and must take into account the set design, the lighting design, and the practicality of costume changes. Both sets of costumes had their iconic moments, and they told the same story in a new way, successfully reinventing a beloved classic once again. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this analysis of all the different costumes in Phantom of the Opera.